right, we got another great show back this week. We're excited to talk defensive back play today.
That's it,
Um,
buddy.
yeah, it's gonna be great. We're gonna talk with Dee Maggitt, who is first of all, not just is he a defensive backs coach and um, uh, played at the University of Hawaii, coached in college. Um, Also runs the DB network, which is just like one of the best channels you can find to really not just talking about DB play, but really breaking down the position, breaking down the
Yeah.
reads. So that
Like
stuff's exciting.
the details I think that he really goes into and really kind of like that technical stuff where you're talking about like next level, I think is really what I'm excited about to talk to him. And arguably you're talking about one of the, hardest positions to play in the sport, right? Physically, in terms of that nature. I think it's like it is in my eyes, the most difficult position to play in football.
Yeah, and it's you're especially at corner, you're out in an island, but
Oh,
but he breaks down all the stuff and really you can find a plethora of drills and film breakdown from him. But without further ado, let's bring on D. What's going on, D? How you doing?
Sorry about my camera, but thank you guys for the kind words about about my work. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
no, man, we appreciate you taking the time to kind of talk some DB stuff. And like I said, we have a ton of guests on from all kinds of, that do a lot of different things and whatnot. And when we get a position specific guy, like yourself, that can really kind of break it down and then also share it in terms of how much content that you post, whether it be videos or drills, just the stuff that you do, I think really hits to a different level. So we're excited to have you, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm always ready to talk DB.
Coach, talk about your background as a player and as a coach, and just give everyone kind of a breath of that experience.
Yeah, so I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so Washington, Seattle area. I went to Lakes High School. I was very fortunate to attend the University of Hawaii, where I played defensive back. And actually, my first ever defensive coordinator at the college level was Dave Aranda. He was the defensive coordinator when LSU
Yeah.
won the national championship. Ever since he left Hawaii, oh man, ever since he left Hawaii, he's had a lot of success. So I didn't even know that I was studying under one of the
Yeah.
sharpest guys out there. And then once he left and went on to Wisconsin, I had Durante Jones, who's currently the defensive pass game coordinator for the Vikings. So everything that the Vikings are throwing at people, one of the best defenses in all the NFL, I got to learn from him as well. So um, I never would have thought that going to Hawaii, I would be
Yeah.
coached by some legends and some guys who are really coaching at a high level, and then just trying to use what I taught there mixed with my experiences as a player is where I am today.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it is who your mentors are really kind of helps to dictate some of the things that you see and that you learn about. And it's so interesting because uh, Coach Aran Coach Aranda's had a rough week, but
Yeah. Oof. Oh yeah.
Oh my
Especially
God.
being that defensive head coach that kind of lets that happen. But that's
rough week.
his
Man,
work
man,
speaks for
man, man.
itself. One play doesn't
But
define anybody.
but on but
Mhm,
on well, on the
mhm.
flip side, well, the flip side of it is, and this is kind of my point, is even though he's had a rough week, um, it's he's had a rough week because he's considered a defensive guru. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's because he's considered a guy that like has done so many exceptional things defensively. Obviously, he's a head coach, but was really known for being a defensive guru, and and it's one of those things that like so much success. Obviously, if something goes wrong, people all of a sudden question it, but. It's really great the mentors that you had like Aranda, who's a fantastic coach. The University of Hawaii has always been a place that like has had it's had its ups and downs, but has a strong tradition of football, really, really strong tradition of football. A lot of great football players come from the Pacific Northwest and out on the island, and so it's not a bad place to go to college, I'm sure as well, from a weather
Yeah.
standpoint at least, right?
Yeah. Other,
So,
other, other than I think the travel every week, right, is probably a real pain. But other than that, I mean, you see a lot of guys that, and for a school was known basically for their offense, right, for a
right.
really long
Hmm.
time. So for you to go there or choose to go there as a defensive guy, I think that's kind of something that's, a little different as well. But probably helped you in the long run because every day in practice, you're going against guys that are slinging it 50, 60 times a game. You get a lot of work out there.
Yes, and I'm so glad you said that because they're putting up the run and shoot. It was putting up crazy numbers. And when my freshman year, I was on scout team, and that's where I really developed as a defensive back because, like you said, they're throwing it 50 times a game. So imagine how many times they're throwing it in practice.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so as
Double it.
so,
Because they're getting
so I
70, 80 plays a game anyway, when those guys are
exactly.
slinging it.
Exactly. And I would say about my freshman year, we sent four four skill guys from that offense played in the NFL for at least 3 years. So as a freshman, I'm in there just to be there, and I ended up competing against NFL talent right from
Right.
as a 17-year-old. So that's where I learned about myself. That's where I learned about the game. And then, iron sharpens iron. You're going against those guys, and you're in like you said, you're getting consistent pass reps every single day for 2 years straight. That's where I really developed my natural skill for the position, mixing Dave Aranda's scheme. And then so when Coach Durante Jones comes in, and he's a technique guy, he's a technician. Um, it was the perfect storm for me, being able to be around both of those guys simultaneously in college.
It's huge.
Um, as far as from a defensive back standpoint, like breaking down the positions, so corner and what type of personality skill sets are you looking for? Safety, what kind of personality skill sets are you looking for in those positions?
I would say safety. Safety, you're definitely looking for a smart person, especially in today's game. You don't. When I was coming out, Cam Chancellor was kind of the prototypical safety. Taylor Mays, if you remember him, was
Oh
the kind
yeah,
of.
USA
Yep,
monster.
yep,
He was like
yep.
6'4", maybe even
Yeah,
6'5". I remember.
yeah.
No, I mean, look, as a former, safety, those are the guys you look to, right? Like it started with the Sean Taylor type guys, and then those guys
Hmm.
started to Taylor Mays was a big time in the spotlight type guy. The safety position transformed into that tall, longer, guys that
Hmm.
could bang in the box and hit.
Yeah, yeah, yep, yep. And so those were the guys that were around when I was kind of coming into the game. And then as you notice, as the spread and the RPO started to kind of flood football, now you need guys who can move. And now those guys, those prototypical safeties are getting moved down to outside linebackers. Now you're outside linebacker. Now you're oh sorry. Now your outside linebackers are what used to be the Taylor Mays type guys. So that's how the game's kind of changed. So as a safety now, you need someone smart. You need someone who can check, who knows the checks to this side of the field. If they motion, it's going to change. If the
Mhm.
splits are tight, it's going to change. Down and distance is going to change. So you just need someone who can regurgitate information quickly, because they're kind of back there, playing chess. And then at the corner position, I would say now every coach is looking for the 6'1" and above lanky guy. Usually those guys didn't have the best technique, but now you're seeing point guards decide, hey, I want to play corner now. So
Yeah.
I'm 6'2". I don't really have a legit, I'm short for basketball standards, but that same skill set, getting in the chair, sliding your feet, being able to stay in front of a guy full court, now you move that skill to the football field. And now people are realizing, hey, I can make a lot of money doing this. So yeah, so that's where the position has gone. But then, for guys who don't really meet that build, if you are, as a coach, say a dog, if you're willing to get in someone's face consistently and just be disruptive, I think that you can make a good corner out of that person, because that is a natural energy that you can't really teach. And I've seen a lot of corners make it very far just because of their confidence in themselves. Didn't really have the best technique, didn't really know the game. But if you put Odell Beckham in front of them, Tyreek Hill in front of them, they're going to have the same mental approach that I can cover this guy. And I think that's what is the confidence is one thing that is overlooked, but confidence comes from putting in the work, your coaching, your preparation. Confidence can come from a lot of things, but if you can find confidence with just the ability to stay square for 2 steps to the left or 2 steps to the right, you got a pretty decent corner.
Yeah, that's but if it's, so is the long, like the Deion Sanders type, well, obviously Deion Sanders has always wanted, that speed, but
Yeah.
the longer rangy corner still as big a deal, like, you go back to Deion Sanders, or like even when Seahorn played at USC, and
Mm-hmm.
Like an
um
Antonio Cromartie.
or Marty, right? Even Revis was a little bigger, but
Yeah, he
he
was
was
Yeah.
like
still
a little
long.
thicker, a little like a
Mm-hmm.
Sherman, right? Like those guys,
Mm-hmm.
those type
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
dudes. Like
yeah.
you still see Jalen Ramsey, right? Like he's still at the top of his game, and he is up there.
Is that
Yeah.
still? It's that still and always going to be a thing, like that long rangy corner, or is there been a need? Obviously, because you get those slot like
Yep.
that's, I think that
The
there's
nickel.
multiple guys needed. You got the
Mm-hmm.
nickel guy who can be it can be
Yeah.
the quick footed
Gotta be
guy.
the quick. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I would
Uh,
say just looking at how the draft has been and just talking to college coaches, that's what I've been doing the past couple months, is just talking to college coaches, because kids reach out to me all the time about, coach, how do I make it? So
Yep.
I make it my job to figure out what are the coaches looking for. And then I ask them directly, what are you looking for? And unfortunately, they're looking for a specific body type. The prototypical 6'1" lanky. What they tell me is that, hey, I like them long. I can teach them everything else. So that's the
Interesting.
standard.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, look,
that.
we
Mhm.
talk a lot on this show about, obviously, we always talk kids getting recruited and whatnot, and we tell guys that, look, there are certain measurables for each position that sometimes coaches, they won't even look at you if you aren't this
Mhm.
type of a measurable, or you don't have this type of speed. And we kind of break that down for them. We're not saying there's not outliers, or that you could be a
Mhm.
fit in a certain type of system, but in general, it's kind of, hey, if you're going to play corner, you need to be this. And if you're not this, you need to run this. Right. And that's kind
Exactly.
of where we
Exactly.
go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes sense. 100%. You're talking to certain guys. I only want long corners in my system, or my nickels need to be this. Right. So
Mhm.
you're
Mhm.
kind of seeing that across the board with a lot of guys. But I still feel like, look, if you can get a lockdown, shutdown corner for your defense, and I don't care what level it is, it just changes
Mhm.
the game altogether as a defensive coordinator. So I think you're always kind of looking for that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with with the need for the nickel position, now you're talking about the 5'10", 5'11" guys that can move laterally, who might not have the long speed. And that was the knock on me, was, does he have the long speed? And I'm like, what does that mean? No
Yeah.
one's
What
running
the
by
hell
me.
is that?
Yeah. No one's running by me. What is long speed? But um, at the end of the day, I will say that football is always evolving and then going right back to where it used to be. So I could see all it really takes is a couple 5'10", 5'11" guys to kind of break out
Right.
in the NFL, and then everyone's going right back to, hey, what are they doing? Or I seen them like Trent
The
McDuffie. I
copycat
think
league.
Trent McDuffie is about 5'11", I believe, maybe 6 foot. But I believe I would love for him to truly be in that 5'11" range because I'm 5'10", so he's not too far from me. But um, like him, he's an all pro. He's playing in the slot, he's playing on the outside, but he was drafted as a slot guy. And then just with his success in the slot, he's been able to get opportunities at the cornerback position and do well there as well. So I would love for more guys like him to continue to have success, to open it up to change coaches' minds. And one thing I will say is that the coaches today tend to it's a copycat kind of league, like like we were talking about. Usually the coaches that were kind of coached on that philosophy of, hey, you need to have a long corner, they naturally have that thought process. But I've met shorter cornerback coaches who are like, oh yeah, I'll take a short guy, like they
Right.
were the short guy who got
Right.
overlooked,
Like a Kirby Smart.
Yeah, and now they're in a position to bless someone else with an opportunity, and now they're like, "Hey, I'll take a look at a 5'9", 5'10" guy because I was that guy." So, to all the kids out there who may be watching this, the beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and in every coach is human. They have their preferences. They have the non-negotiables. So you really want to scout the coaches as you're relying on them scouting you.
Of course.
Yeah, the one non-negotiable is always speed.
Right.
So if you
Sorry,
can't
guys,
run,
you can't be a
you can't
4'8"
run, you
corner.
can't play DB. But
Yeah.
especially corner. I think you're 100% right, and I think the copycat part is true. And then the part about, I also think mirroring, like what becomes the trend at receiver basically mirrors what becomes the trend at DB, right? So I don't, it doesn't mean this is gonna happen, but if all of a sudden the league was mirrored with a bunch of Tyreek Hills playing wide receiver, right? And all of a sudden you had a lot of shorter, super fast guys running around. You would need to have more guys that mirror that in order to stop it, right? And if
Exactly.
when Gronk and all the tight ends were a big deal, that's when you needed some more of those safeties or those bigger roll down DBs to be able to handle that, because how are you going to cover Travis Kelce or so the specialization. I think as in college, there's obviously all ranges of sizes of guys. So you're basically recruiting off preference. But in the NFL level, the specialization, because I was an agent for 6 years, I saw the specialization of mirroring what they have to face being a big deal. So even if their preference is long, rangy corners, they want to have one guy on that roster, on that 53-man roster, that can go in and just cover the guy that's really super quick and can take that guy away. Like, they may only carry one, you know what I mean? They may only carry one of those guys, but they carry the one just in case they need him, and obviously can run down on specials and all those other things. So I think that's really an interesting thing at the defensive, the back thing, and that's what makes defensive back so interesting. And then you have like these hybrid guys too, which is like a kind of a thing in the NFL, like Micah Parson, who really is who's a linebacker who plays defensive end, who can also cover a tight end if need be, right? Like he's like one of those 1 in a million guys. He's not as tall as the tight ends, but he's faster than they are, and he's as physical. So it's interesting how you have that mirroring process. Defense is basically, in order to stop the offense, you've got to out mirror them. You got to mirror what they're doing, and then you got to out mirror them, meaning your guys got to be better. When you put the mirror on. So it's really interesting. What techniques and stuff do you try to really like? Kind of, what is your progression when you're teaching DB, kind of help young DBs, because they always, the first thing they want to do is just get out there and run out in 1-on-ones, right? But they haven't really learned certain things. And what kind of progression do you teach?
So if we're talking about one-on-ones, we're talking about press. The first thing I teach them, the stance is, I feel like it's important, but it's not necessarily something that is hard for them to understand. Obviously, you want to play basketball. How would you guard? Would you guard this person standing straight up? Would you guard this person with with your butt touching the ground? How would you guard someone in basketball? And that's the natural stance that will work for press. And then obviously, and we're talking about, hey, day one, we're doing one-on-ones in 10 minutes. How am I going to get this guy ready?
Right.
That's what I'll say about stance, and then distance. And I always like to bring in other sports for them to kind of compare. So we're talking about basketball. Now we're talking about distance. So if you want to get your hands on a guy, boxing, if you're too close, you can't extend. All right. So your punch is going to be all jammed up. You're not going to have any power. Unless you have, so at what range do you need to align from that receiver in press to where receivers are taught when no matter what move I'm making at the line of scrimmage, I need to be going forward. So naturally I tell my guys, hey, stick your arm out. All right. And then touch him with your hand, and then take a step back. So now I know that as soon as he makes any type of forward movement, I can touch him without leaning, without lunging, and I can get my hands on him. So I go with stance, and then I go with distance, so that they're comfortable knowing that you don't have to go get him. He will come to you. And then it's footwork. Are we going to step laterally, which meaning we're drawing that line in the sand, and we're making it a fight at the line. It's not a fight, but we're going to meet him, or we're going to hold our ground? Or are we giving ground? Are we going to soft press or soft shoot, meaning we're going to take some type of inch back or some type of retreat while staying square? I always like to go with a lateral step first, because I want people to get comfortable being in that phone booth, like boxing, right? You put your foot in that tire, he has his foot in that tire, and we're going at it. So I like to go with that to get people comfortable, and then get them to understand that your eyes are everything at the defensive back position.
Mm-hmm.
Your feet are everything at the defensive back position, and your hands are accessories. All right, because you can play this position without your hands, but you can't play this position without good eyes, without good feet. So getting them to understand that we want to have our eyes in the right place. So you can either be keying. There's so many things you can key in press. I was just a torso belly button guy. And that comes from naturally guarding taller receivers and then having that just be where my eyes are.
Right.
I've gone to different coaching clinics, and they're like, no, we need to key the back foot. We want to key the inside hip. We want to key this. We want to key that. And I tell kids, again, if you're playing basketball, what are you looking at? Are you looking at his head? No, you're going to get juked. Are you looking at his shoulders? No. Are you looking at his shoulders? You're going to get juked. I just try to keep it simple with guys, because you can have 10 DB coaches.
And again, they'll tell you 10 different places to put your eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. And they'll give it a different name to make it seem like they invented it.
Yeah. That's we see it all day. Listen, whenever we do these things and the kids come to us and it's like, hey guys, the first thing we tell them is like, look, we're going to coach you a certain way. We're going to use a certain terminology, but when you go back to your team or your coach, that's you use their stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
We're just giving you, there's a million ways. It's the same tool, right? Everybody just calls it something different, right? It's like
Exactly.
passing routes. Everybody's got a name for passing routes. It's like, hey, it's been around forever, dude. You didn't create it just because you play Madden.
Yeah.
Like, come on, So we get it.
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
So we went stance, we went distance, we went our eyes, feet, and then hands. We're either taking a lateral step, but the one of the biggest thing is leverage. because my coach used to, Durante Jones, he would say 80% of passes are completed inside. And he would say that every single day, 80% of passes are completed inside. So most times we want to be inside leverage. Because like you said, most passes completed on the inside. And then if you're at Pee Wee, not even Pee Wee, but we go back based on the quarterback's capabilities. Can he get that ball from this hash to the far numbers consistently outside and away? No, so we but he can throw the fade. So that, that's where our dividers come in. And this is what I learned. The field, man, like Dave Aranda guys, they break the field down into, they can tell you what every dimension on that field means and where your body should be and what you should be expecting. So if you can get a kid to just understand leverage, hey, if we're in the boundary, all right, the ball's on the near hash and that receiver lines up on the top of the numbers, there's a high probability he's going to release outside. All right, they love to line up at the top of the numbers so they can release outside for a fade. Mm-hmm. If you're in the boundary and he's on the bottom of the numbers, or a yard on the bottom of the numbers, there's a high probability that he's going to release inside. So getting them to understand, hey, there's technique, there's distance, there's eyes, but then there's percentages. Play the percentages, and if you play the percentages consistently, and you're aligned based on percentages, you're going and you just protect your leverage based on that percentage, you're going to be right more than you're going to be wrong. And that's what I'll tell guys with press. And then, if we're doing one-on-ones, and then obviously all of that goes out the window if you don't make a play on the ball when it's time to make a play on the ball. So Just getting guys to never quit, fight through the hands, pull through the hands, punch the ball, and that's where that dog mentality comes in at, because I could have horrible technique, but as soon as you go up for that ball, if I'm punching and I'm clawing and I'm fighting, like my life depends on it, that's where you see the Sauce Gardners make plays. If you watch Sauce Gardner, he's never going to get beat because his eyes were in the wrong place. He's always going to be as close to the receiver as possible, and he's going to use his length to his advantage. If he doesn't get his hand on the ball initially, he's pulling, he's raking, he's pulling to the ground, he's punching. So, so that would be my progression as far as the line of scrimmage, what we're trying to do with our hands. But then at the end of the day, when that ball's in the air, you got to be a dog and you got to get it out somehow, some way. And there's techniques to that, but then it's a want to.
Right. And I think that's a great point that you make, right? Because a lot of younger, DBs and stuff, they think, hey, man, this guy caught the ball, plays over. And a lot of times, you're talking about receiver play too. Like they got to catch, tuck, bring it in. A lot of these guys don't have those techniques, especially at the younger levels, that attention to detail, right? And I tell my young DBs all the time, man, like just because he has the ball in his hands does not mean that play is over. Continue to fight. You know what I mean? Go for the ball, rip the hands, do all that kind of stuff. Like you said, it really becomes, a level of, I don't want to say aggression, but just like want, right? And I think that also comes with the DB position itself. Like you said, you need to have confidence, right? Like DBs are always a little different in their mentality because a lot of times it's the most, I want to say, individual position on the field, right? Football's the ultimate team game, but there's a lot of times where as a corner, right, specifically, it's you and that guy and nothing else matters, which is rare in football. And I think that's what adds a level of confidence that is needed to ultimately play that position at a high level.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're going to get beat. So having the confidence, and this is, I think, why I had success is every time I've gotten beat in my entire life, there was always a self-correction that I was able to make as soon as the play was over.
Right.
Like, dang, I didn't stay square. Or like, dang, why did I open my hips? My eyes. It was never that guy was too good. That guy was too fast. Right. I can't cover him. So
No,
and that could be
it's on
calm.
you, right? Like
Yeah,
he didn't beat me, I beat myself, or he didn't win,
yeah.
I lost, right? I think
Hmm.
there's a big time mental side of playing the DB position, you know, even as a safety, right? Like I felt the same way. Like, hey, I have to run fit here, and this guy's not going to juke me. Or hey,
Hmm.
like, and even if he did, it's like, oh, I took a bad angle, right? It's
Exactly.
that confidence and the self correction of knowing, hey, I made a mistake. He didn't do good, right? Something like that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And you can, man, this game, that position, especially the cornerback position, or even
Oof,
the safety, it can humble you so quick.
real quick,
It's
real
yeah,
quick, dude.
yeah.
It's interesting how when you talked about the alignment of where to be and where to stand, and then the thought process. Like, yeah, I really agree with you. Obviously, if you're playing straight up and you're trying to take away, you're playing straight up on them. Your belly button is obviously the easiest to take a look at, but if you're playing them inside leverage, right? Then the near hip might be easiest. If you're playing some sort of cover two where you got to funnel down inside, the outside near hip is going to be your point that you can see the easiest. It's the
Hmm.
based off the leverage and where your opponent's body is not going to move at all, right? The part that's not moving very much, that's going to be stable. That's where you want to have your eyes, because everything else is part of the fake, part of the leverage point for the wide receiver. Um, it's 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 interesting, the not just about the mindset of a defensive back, but also like how do you teach? Because I think one of the things that coaches do, at least when you get like in a high school level, but in the college level, you got to be able to catch as a DB. Otherwise, you're very limited. But coaches will
Hmm.
take a guy who's fast, isn't catching as well as the guy who's their stable wide receiver, and say, you know what, let's teach this guy DB, right?
Yeah.
But ball skills ultimately become really important because picks are a big deal, and or even just being able to get your hands on the ball, right? Knocking balls down, having those ball skills. What are some of the things that you really teach to help improve defensive backs' ball skills as they're moving without knowing where the
What
ball's
it's
going to
coming.
go, right? Because that's what people don't realize. It's like, oh, DB drops it. Well, he doesn't really know
Yeah.
where the ball's
It's
going. Like a lot of times,
reaction. Like you're just seeing a
right, the
ball come
Hmm.
reaction, ball
flying at you,
appears.
dude.
Right, the receiver knows when the ball is approximately coming and what the timing is. But the DB, the ball appears, and you
You're
got to
like,
get your
hey,
hands up.
Hmm.
okay.
So it's always funny to me when they say like, "Oh man,
Oh,
that's
he's
what he
got to
plays DB
catch
is on."
that.
And it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
DBs are catching off reaction and not knowing where who and where the ball is thrown
Right.
to,
Hmm.
whereas wide receivers know, obviously, from the scheme where the ball is supposed to be going or where it might go. So talk about how you improve, like some of the things that you like to do to help improve ball skills for defensive back.
Um, so one of the things that helped me is I think a lot of DBs, it's hard for DBs to truly feel like the ball is always going to come your way every play. I think when a lot of DBs get caught off guard by not believing the ball is going to come, now you're in a reactive state uh,
Hmm.
from the
A
beginning.
great point.
Yeah,
Great point.
yeah, and so now when the ball comes, you're behind the eight ball on everything,
Right.
and that's one thing and it's really really tough when they're running the ball, they're running the heck out of the ball. You haven't even got
Yeah.
it thrown, but to be honest, that is what truly helped me was to believe that the ball was always going to come my way. And then when it comes to, I would say the deep ball, I like to talk about the deep ball first because I think a lot of people are in good position, but then they can't play the deep ball. Um, and this comes from basketball, this comes from rebounding and things like that. But I think as a defensive back, and these are all mindset tips, and then I'll talk about drills. But when that ball is in the air, if you're trying to stop him from catching it, while trying to catch it, it's going to limit your ability to catch it. That's what I've truly felt in my game. When the ball goes in the air and you can simply say that I don't care how I land, I don't care what's around me, I'm going to track it and I'm going to get off the ground and I'm going to get it. Like literally like Harry Potter, like the golden snitch or stitch or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm like my everything has gone away. My focus is the ball because that was my problem. I'm trying to stop him from catching it while still trying to catch it. I think mindset wise, if you can get guys to um, truly feel like when that ball is in the air, everything else ceases to exist. Because I used to be worried about how man, like, am I going to get hit if I'm in the ground? If I'm in the
Right.
air, like just things that don't matter. So being able to have them, truly focus on, hey, if I jump and I get clipped and I do a front flip and I fall on my back, like there's so many worries that might go in someone's head, but truly attacking the ball. But then I just doing drills where, let's say we're doing a back pedal drill, we're doing a brake drill, just having them snap their eyes to the imaginary target. So for breaking 90, back pedal, break 90, I always have them do a minimum of 2 steps towards the direction of the imaginary receiver. And then I throw the ball without them, without them knowing. So they know, obviously they know I'm going to throw the ball, but it's not like I say ball, or it's not like I give them an
Right.
indicator that
It's
it's going.
reaction.
Yeah, it's reaction. And then, so you can play games with them where sometimes you throw the ball, sometimes you don't throw the ball. So at least you're training them that I'm taking my mandatory 2 steps and I'm snapping my head. So I think getting them in the habit of I'm closing space, and then as soon as I get to this hip, my eyes are back and I'm expecting that ball to come.
Right.
And that's little mind games you can play with them. And then, if and then I think penalties for bad eyes as well. So I always penalize my guys in drills if their eyes are bad, because they think interceptions is staring at the ball, and it's like, no, your interceptions are going to come from looking at the last second. So I think just trying to get them in the habit of when the break happens, that's when the real race starts. It's a 1-2 snap, 1-2 snap. If I'm driving 1-2 and I'm still not there, it's a 1-2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it takes to get to that hip snap. So you haven't really earned your right for the ball until you close space, and then get them in the habit of, as soon as I close space, eyes. As soon as I close space, eyes. So trying to get them into machines, having them be machines with it, and
Right.
that helped me as well. And then so the good ones like Trevon Diggs, for instance, once he gets into, I wouldn't even say Trevon Diggs, who does a good job. I guess we could use him as an example, but once he gets into position, his eyes are up immediately. So he knows what he has to do to earn the right to look for the ball. So if you can get your guys to get into that, I would say rhythm of my eyes, I will look for the ball once I get to this certain position. So on the post, once I get to that upfield shoulder, my eyes are up. The fade ball, once I step, I get to his chest, I get my eyes up. So just trying to get them to understand there's certain points where you're not supposed to look for the ball, and there's certain points where you can look for the ball. And then once they're drilling that like crazy, they're going to know where the ball is going to be too as well, based on where the receiver is. So if I'm driving that receiver, let's say there's space. If I'm driving and I need to take 2 steps, as I'm taking my steps, if I see that he's slowed down, so let's say he's running a deep out route. If I see that he's slowed down, that means that ball is either underthrown or is late. So when I snap my eyes, I know exactly where it is. It's going to be right where my head is, versus if I'm trying to catch up and he's not breaking stride, Now it's either going to be out and towards the sideline, which means I got to get, I got to turn my head and expect it this way. Or if I don't get there, it's a I'm punches to the hands type situation. So getting them to be able to read body language. Um, so I do a lot of drills where I'm full speed, you're in the trail position. If I continue to, if I don't break stride and you get to my hip, look for the ball, that means that ball is going to be over my shoulder. Now, if you're catching up and I'm starting to slow down, that's an indicator of an underthrown or a back shoulder ball. So now once you get to the hip, instead of looking over, your field shoulder, you might want to turn into the receiver and start to look towards that back shoulder. So just doing a whole bunch of, I study, all right, like what does like when a receiver, like when DK Metcalf catches a fade,
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, it's going to be high and outside. It's rarely over the shoulder. He likes to use his body. So I make that a drill where now I'm the receiver and now I'm slow and I'm decelerating. And then my hands are going to go high and outside, training that DB to get to the body. If he slows down and his shoulder starts to move towards the sideline, now I know that ball is going to be somewhere over there. So just all those little things of putting them in real live situations, and getting them to one, drive to the hip, boom, study the receiver's body language, that'll give them good indicator of where the ball is. So now we're not reacting to everything. Like now we have some type of information that can help us estimate where that ball is going to be. So I do a whole bunch of different things that get guys comfortable finding that ball without seeing it leave the quarterback's hands.
Yeah, I think absolutely your points on getting to the hip, but going for the ball. I think that's one of the mistakes that inexperienced coaches may teach. They're always like, hey, focus on knocking it down and focus on playing the ball, and you make the decision of what's available as that ball comes in. But first, close on the hip, and then be able to play the ball and understand the different angles of the receiver you have. If you're a shorter DB and you have a taller guy that they're throwing to, they're going to throw it to his head. I mean, that's where you're going to throw, right? So you got to play, be able to play through those hands. You don't have to out jump him. You got to go to where his hands are, because the chances are he's not throwing it 10 feet in the air and having him leap to the 10-foot mark. He's throwing it towards his head. He's throw to the head, and that's all you got to be. You got to be at his head. But if you're down at his chest, then at your height level, then he's going to catch the ball on you every single time. And I think it's interesting. I think that's what makes guys like Travis Hunter so good at DB, right? Because he's playing receiver all the time. He understands the ball skill component of it, and he knows what the routes they're running, and he knows the leverage and the height of each guy he's playing, and knowing where would a quarterback want to put that ball, right? If you're a taller DB and you're covering a shorter guy, he's always going to put the ball out in front of him if he can, because he's going to try to get him to run, right? Try to get him to run and chase it, right? So get him away from you. And those things are really and obviously what you talked about, closing, the steps necessary to close to the receiver first before you do anything, because I think that's a big mistake that you probably see when you coach kids. They if you're teach them, hey, be aggressive, play the ball, they'll look back way before they get to the actual guy, and then it's a catch, and they're like frustrated as to no, it's you got to get to the guy before you're gonna have a chance, and once you get there, then you can make all the plays you want. Really, really great stuff. What is as far as from a coverage standpoint, what are the kind of coverage leverage points that you like to have the corners play? First, let's talk corners. and then I want to talk like alley play with the safeties. So basically, when they got to close on the run game versus obviously when they're either half field safety or like a cover one look where they have the full field, right, the center field.
Mhm.
So first talk about corners, like leverages based off the different coverage, like cover two, cover three, like where do you want them to really be playing and those zone coverages?
So I would say cover two, most times I would say standard cover two, you want to be outside leverage because you want to
Funnel.
you want to funnel everything inside. And that what was I gonna say? That hole shot by
The honey hole.
the honey hole shot is the first place the quarterbacks are looking, and that's actually the throw that they're most comfortable making. That and straight over the middle. So and I watched the game against Michigan, USC,
Right.
and it was 2-on-1. It was one receiver side, and the corner just lets him get outside. He just lets him get outside, gets straight to the sideline. Quarterback hits the hole shot in cover two. And it's just crazy that at every single level, that's like the first thing that I ever learned about cover two.
It was like, don't let him outside. Like number one rule of like if you do nothing else right, you can't let him outside. And it's like, okay, here we go. Like
here we go.
110,000 people watching you, dude, and you do something that you were taught when you were 5. Like it's
Yeah. And every
but I
and
do think
every
though, right? Like
Mhm.
that, especially leverage when it comes to that, like. And I'm not trying to get you off track or interrupt or whatever, but I do feel like
No.
cover two might be one of the least played coverages, right? In terms of
Mhm.
the whole grand scheme of things, because, when I personally feel like I like cover two more so in like a younger age type thing or like a college or a high school team, right? Where there's more run game involved, right? And as corners, if you have flat, I feel like you can be more of a factor in the run game like right now. And you don't see it used a lot.
Mhm.
But, just continue with your stuff, what you're doing. That's a whole other freaking thing that I just get on a
No,
tangent
no,
about. But just keep
no.
going
You're
with
fine.
cover
You're
two.
fine.
Go ahead, bud.
No. Well, yeah. That's it. Recover too. Is I want us to be outside. You want to funnel everything into your safety. You want to sink. You want to have your eyes on um, the back, carry. So there's a lot of ways you could do it, but just don't let them go outside. And I understand sometimes it's hard to get hands on a guy, but I
Well,
just see
especially if you
that
don't
so
work the
much.
technique, right? Like a lot of these high school
Hmm.
coaches or youth coaches just get out there and cover two, don't let them outside. And it's like,
Yeah. And a lot
okay.
of it comes from. I think a lot of that comes from they're playing so much quarters where you're playing two read and you're kind of scooching back and then and you're just kind of jumping it in palms. I think that's where a lot of the technique doesn't come from because, like you said, you're not playing a lot of cover two, but you're playing a lot of quarters. But quarters has a lot of cover two checks, so you're playing true cover two like you would play it in quarters. I think that's where you're seeing people miss the basics of cover two. Cover three, it really just depends.
I
It
hate it.
really depends on your on your philosophy. So if you I would just say most times you're playing outside and you're telling you guys to play outside and on top. At the younger levels, it outside. I would say outside shade. So you're I would say your body is on his outside shoulder, his outside hip, and like you said, you're just not trying to give up the fade. And then you can go all the way up to okay, well, in cover three, all right, in cover three with two receivers, now you might want to be inside shade of number one because they're hitting us with the seam or they're a big seam team.
Right.
We want a midpoint. We want to lean on that. So I think it really just and I don't blame coaches for this. Like when people get to the higher levels, they're like, "Oh, well, we played it like this," but it might not be the way that a high level coach wants it played. But I don't blame a coach for saying, hey, this is what we're seeing to win our games in our league at our level. This is what I want you to do.
I
But
think
to the sideline.
that's a great. I think that's great that
Hmm.
you mentioned that, right? Because Dave, how many
Hmm.
times do we see like what works for one doesn't work for another, right? This isn't a cookie
Hmm.
cutter type of system. Like we're kind of giving you the general rules, but you have to tweak it to what you're seeing in order to be successful. You know what I mean? You see all these guys go to
Yeah.
these clinics every winter, right? And they come back and they're like, "We're gonna run this, we're gonna run that," and it's like, buddy, like you got that from the NFL and we're coaching, 9-year-olds, right?
Exactly.
Like this ain't
Exactly.
gonna happen,
Exactly.
dude. Like it's a great
Yeah.
thought, thank you, but not so much. So I'm
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
glad you brought that up.
Yeah, yeah. And then you can get super complicated to where now you're talking about dividers. All right. So now it's like, hey, cover three divider is if that ball is in the middle of the field, I want you 1 yard on top of the numbers. And when you're dropping your cover three, we're going to play the percentages and we're just staying on that divider. I don't care if number one is here. I don't care if you have two receivers. That's our divider and we're staying on it. If that ball's on the hash, we're gonna apex the numbers. So we're basically just gonna line up on the numbers, and that's our divider in the boundary. We're to the field where we're most likely to get some type of trips, some type of at least two receivers to the field. We're gonna apex the numbers in the hash. So it's like it can get that deep. I don't think it needs to be because um, I there's plenty of people who have success without even getting into that. So it can get that deep. And then when you're talking about man is something that I think can transfer to all levels when you're talking about man dividers. So pretty much like I said, if you're to the field or if you're in the boundary, your divider is going to be so if the ball's on the in the boundary, your divider is going to be the numbers. So if he lines up on the top of the numbers, you want to be outside leverage. If he lines up on the bottom of the numbers, you're going to be inside leverage. So and then it could be between the hashes and the numbers as well when it comes to defining your leverage to the field. So if our divider is in between the hash and the numbers, if he lines up inside that divider, that's pretty tight for him to be to the field. So we're going to go ahead and be outside leverage on that. Now, if he lines up outside that divider, the only really thing that quarterback can throw to that receiver to the field from the boundary hash is that fade. We're going to play the slant, the 5 and in, the curl, the dig, the post, the over route, the shallow route. We're going to play all those routes from inside leverage. And then if he throws the fade, that ball is still got to work through our body if we're inside and, we're looking at so that's like the philosophy behind that. I would say quarters. Quarters is different because it was difficult. Well, it's not difficult, but it's different because everybody runs quarters their own
Everybody.
way. So
Right.
I've had a coach that says, I want us outside leverage. And then you'll have another coach say, are you crazy? You got to protect the post. So so everyone's different with their quarters. I will say that you're probably going to find more people play quarters from an inside from inside technique than most. Um, Simply because again the way to beat quarters is that fade or is
Yep.
that post. But I've coached in leagues, I've coached in high school. I'm like, hey, we're seeing is fades, comebacks, curls, and slants. Like no one's throwing the post. Like, hey, coach, like you notice no one's throwing the post, and like you said, that comes down to necessity. What are you seeing? So don't go to a clinic where they're seeing Andy Reid one week, Sean McVay another week,
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan another week, where you guys are seeing bubble, RPO, and we're taking shots to our tall receiver. So I say, adjust accordingly. When it comes to the safeties, if we're starting in quarters, I would say, inside, I would say 10 to 12 inside is the standard. Dave Aranda was thought to be crazy because he was an outside leverage guy. Again, because the
Interesting.
way to beat a way to beat quarters was that corner route. So that's where he started was, okay, I'm outside leverage because they're killing us with this. They've adjusted to our quarters. They're killing us with this. And then you adjust and then they adjust. But
Right, it's a chess match. Everybody knows that, right? And
yeah.
any good high level, coach understands that when the offense does this, the defense is going to do this, and then they do,
Mhm.
then the offense is going to adjust to that, and then the defense is going to adjust to that. And to be honest, like we've been in a lot of games because Dave and I have coached together and whatnot, where hey, we're planning like, all right, we did well in the first half, so what's going to be their answer, right? Okay, so they're going to come out, they're going to do this. We spend all halftime drawing this up for the kids. We come out and it's like they didn't adjust. It's like they didn't even move one bit. Like, okay,
You
this is going to be another
yeah.
great second half, right? So
Yeah.
some of that stuff is, the chess match is part of why the game is great.
What
Yeah.
what about
And
what about match coverage? Have you played a lot of match zone where like you're reading number two receiver and it's like a version of cover four, but that match coverage could be really effective because it baits people into throwing something that you want them to throw because they think you're playing
Mhm.
cover four and you're really not, and
Yeah.
you're playing a match. Yeah, have you taught a lot of that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I played it. As far as like my teaching, I'm not really teaching
Right, you're teaching more
con-
technique stuff.
Technique.
yeah, yeah. And I'm not at a specific school or anything like
Right, right,
that. But
right.
as far as match, I think that's where football defenses have gone. Because quarterbacks, I would say
Smart.
a 10-year-old could hop on YouTube and figure out everything they need to know about coverages. If you're vanilla, like if you're just spot dropping and you're playing landmarks,
Right.
and you're not necessarily matching guys, a good quarterback, a good offense is going to eat you for dinner. So I think that is where the game is going. We're going to guard guys, not grass.
Oh, I
But
like that. I like that.
yeah,
I like that.
yeah. But things are, I would say, things are kind of the same in terms of in terms of how you're playing it. So quarters, we're not backpedaling into our quarters. We're either taking a scooch step or a step off, and if two is vertical, we got them. And
Right.
how do you define a vertical, coach? And it's like everyone wants to say, oh, if he's past 6, if he's past 8, I've just learned as a quarter safety, is he past your nickel? Is he past your backers? Like
Right.
take him
Right. Yeah.
because because again, teams are smart. They'll find out. Oh, they define vertical anything
By
over
at this
6.
yardage, so let's push
Yeah.
it to this, or let's cut it here, right? Like
Yeah.
listen, it's a
Yeah.
crazy world, dude.
So
Like, you know what I
so
mean?
so
Guys
if yeah,
care.
so yeah, so if you match, you gotta have rules that will stay true. And I think that's where the coaching comes in at is you've got to learn from trial and error that, oh man, we said that in our palms, anything under 5 yards, but he's running the stick out. So he's hitting 5, pop, 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 and then he's working out, but then we're sending one on the post. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna
Right.
are you so I think having good rules is the key to match. And like I said, you can play it the same um, uh, in terms of how you're aligning. But when it comes to match, I would say the rules are probably the most important. So your guys can play fast because if they're having to think
Mhm.
too much, and there's so much gray area in your teaching, then that's when they become robots and they're not able to match anybody because they're just they're standing still, and they're unable to adjust on the fly. So yeah, that's I guess that's my thing with quarters. If you have any more questions, let me know. And then cover three, I think the cover three safety. I don't know if you've noticed, but everybody's moving towards a shuffle now. A lot of teams are shuffling
Yep.
in the middle of the field.
Yep.
I get the concept and I really like it. And again, I think it's just based on how well you can teach it. Because I find that if you grab anything from the NFL, you better be teaching it every single day,
every
and
day.
you better be reiterating that, like, hey, like when you see this, we're
Right.
gonna do this, because a lot of people don't
Exactly.
yeah, a lot of people don't understand what they're actually grabbing from the NFL. Like, I can grab a drill and say, oh, they're shuffling.
Anytime. Yeah.
Oh, that's what we're doing, but taking the time to find the keys to it, the reads to it, why you're doing it. When you see this, it might change. When you see this, we're doing this. And then the flaws of it, you always have to find, whatever coverage you're running, find um, clips and show it to your kids of someone beating it, someone beating you at your
Oh,
rules,
oh,
so that, yeah,
that's a
so
great.
that it's like,
I like
mm-hmm,
that's great. That's phenomenal.
mm-hmm,
You never think
yeah,
to show something like that because whatever, but you can say, look, like you can do all of this, and then here's what they're gonna do, or here's how
mm-hmm.
they're gonna beat it. So be aware of this. Wow, it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah. And I learned that from my DB page is people are more interested in the failures, not the success,
Oh well,
because people
that's
are gonna.
society, brother. Right? Like, welcome to society.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
everything that's negative. Let's throw it up there.
yeah, exactly. And I try to tell people, like, hey, this DB got beat, but he got beat based on something your coach is teaching you not to do today.
Right.
Your coach is telling you not to open up. Your coach is telling you to have your eyes in the right place. And hey, guys, even at the highest level, who make millions of dollars, are making those same mistakes. So um, being able to show them, and I think people learn from other people's failure more than other people's successes, because it kind of allows them to see, like, hey, things are possible, or that like, hey, let's learn from this moment. Yes, it was a quarters beater, but how can we react to this if we see it? Was there something that tipped off that he was going to run that? Even though he ran a quarter post on our quarter safety, was that safety's footwork the best? Was his alignment cheated a little bit? What can we figure out from this play? So I always show guys, ways to beat any coverage. And I think I get a lot of questions about middle field safety. I think
How deep?
when it
Where do I
comes,
put him? Should he
yeah,
line?
yeah,
Does he cheat to the receivers? Does he lean to the
hmm,
receiver's arm? Should he be looking at a back? All that kind
yeah,
of stuff. Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
get it.
Yeah. I would say old school middle field. You're lining in the middle of the field. You're just reading the quarterback. Have some tempo, and or be able to change your tempos in your back pedal. So I'm slow, I'm
Yep.
speeding it up, and boom, that quarterback's lead shoulder, right? So if that quarterback, and this is something you study on film, when that quarterback picks up the ball and he throws that fade, is his shoulder up here? Is it catch, high shoulder, and is he letting it go? So now getting them to be able to read the quarterback's kind of characteristics, and
Yep.
this is just old school, right in the middle of the field. Is he catching and throwing? And I think I get kids at the eighth grade level who have more success at that, and I'm like, yeah, because he's throwing to the only guy who can catch.
Right.
So
Right.
like,
Right.
There's
Right.
only
Right.
one
Right.
dude that's standing over there that has. They all have gloves on, buddy. But like, hey, this is. I think they're gonna go to this guy. So let's cheat a little bit. And it's great that you're
yeah,
saying some of this stuff because Dave has a son and he coaches him and he's a 9U guy and he's long, right? And Dave wants to. He's a quarterback. He's athletic, but I personally feel like my man is going to be a phenomenal Division 1 safety. And I've been
yeah,
pushing this since the kid came out on the field with us. You know what I'm saying? And he's starting to see it now. And I think him playing offense for a long time has really aided in his ability to play safety. And we talked about ball and all that kind of stuff. Like he's a ball hawk, right? Because he's got that offensive mentality. So now as he continues to grow each year, they're throwing a little bit more here, and now he gets to play some safety, so he's breaking on some balls and stuff like that. That I think as defensive backs as they progress, right? They have to do more like a true defensive back, right? So
Mhm,
you're
mhm.
literally, I think, like the foundation of coaching a defensive back. When you start at a young age, I feel like it needs to be a lot of footwork, read, understand the run game, right? Because that's what you're going to be doing a
Mhm.
lot of. Like they're not going to be throwing passes out there as much. I mean, even though it's changed now, especially with the 7-on-7 world, right? That's where I think you work those, hey, toughness, tackle, that type of stuff. And then as you progress and get older and they start throwing the ball more, now you can start to understand, hey, where do I fit into this picture? Or, hey, I need to position myself here, my back pedal, and all of those kinds of things. I think there's a real transition from, younger, middle school, high school guys. And then obviously it's what you play, right? Like you might be the best lockdown corner and you're like, hey, no pass is caught on me, but they threw 2 times in the game because, they're running option or, they're a wing T team, right? So
Mhm.
my philosophy is like as a DB. And then when you start breaking down coverages, obviously with the game now, the way everybody throws, you know, I just think there's more opportunities to be a defensive back in terms of guys on the field, right? Rarely do we see true, you know, 4-3, three linebackers on a field anymore, maybe on first down. But like for the most part, there's always a nickel. There's probably a dime. Like you're going with 5, 6 DBs, even if you're that tweener on the field at all times. And your techniques and those things can now separate you to get on that field, right? And to play more. So the younger guys that are watching, you really have to invest in this whole technique first, scheme second, right? Your coach will put you in the position to play, but you have to be able to do those things in order to actually execute what he's asking you to.
Exactly, exactly. And I like what you said about the run because I think that, well, I don't think I know. I've talked to a bunch of Division One coaches,
Guys can't
and
tackle.
um, and and that's the number one thing they're looking for because that's what they're that's what the safeties have to know where they are in the run fit.
That's a
So
that's a huge part, right? Like
yeah,
you're the cutback guy, man. Or hey, you
hmm
gotta run this alley because we don't have anybody else, dude. Like you gotta get in the
hmm
box at some point.
yeah, and I
Go
don't
ahead.
think kids understand that, so it really depends what you're doing, but I see most people, they're not even including their nickel in the run fit anymore. He's more just, you're in the
Take
slot and
that
you're
guy.
just, yeah. If you can help us out, cool. But now they're
Thank you.
using the
It's a
safety.
bonus. It's crazy.
Yeah. But most people are using their safety. So it's like, okay, a 4-3, one of you guys are a linebacker that gets to say they're a safety, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't,
yeah, 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 yeah. You make more
because
NIL money if you do that, bud.
yeah. So, coaches are saying, hey, we're looking for guys who can tackle first. We're looking for guys who understand fitting the run, like you said, hey, yeah, and the way they're teaching it, and the way I when I go to a bunch of these, I hear a bunch of these coaches talking. It's where the back is, because most times the back is to the quarterback's left, easy to the right. So if the back is to you, if the back is to you, then let's just say vanilla RPO offense, we're going to get zone. So if the
Right.
back's to you, you're going to get zone the other way, so
So
he's
you got to stay, be patient, play cutback, right? Don't
yeah,
go flying out
exactly,
of there,
exactly.
like
Yeah.
all that
So
kind of
it's
stuff.
like, and some coaches will say, oh, I want you D10, there's a tight end. So I want you D10. So D gap 10 yards, and you're coming downhill this way, and then you're going to shuffle and you're going to slide that way.
Yeah.
Because
Don't
we have
over
that nick.
pursue. Don't shoot right to
Yeah.
where the ball
Mm-hmm.
is and all that,
Yep.
we're down and
Yep.
over. And it's really hard for younger guys that coming up taught defensively, fly to the ball, fly to the ball, fly to the ball, fly to the ball. And
Mm-hmm.
now you're telling a
Mm-hmm.
kid, hey man, you gotta be patient. Patient. Coach, what are we
Mm-hmm.
talking about? Like I gotta go tackle that guy. Nah,
Yep.
man, you gotta
Yep.
understand where you fit into this entire scheme.
The
Which is
puzzle.
why I always
Yeah.
loved when I played and we did inside run, the safeties went with inside run. Like I love that
Mm-hmm.
because even if I'm not whatever, I'm still seeing what's happening in front of me, and now I know where I have to fit in terms of this
Hmm.
entire scheme. I think it's something that coaches kind of, whatever, if they even do inside run in high school, like, you know what I mean? Like some guys, like, that's just not even a thing. But I think that needs to be seen, especially as safeties, when you're going to fit and you're going to have to do these things. And ultimately, having played the position, it sucks. But like sometimes, man, you got to make up for where somebody screwed up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
somebody's going to fit wrong and you might have to fold over and make that play or do whatever. Like, your job is to basically make those guys in front of you right. And sometimes you
yeah,
get burned for it. And, you're not dialing it. You're not calling anybody out in a film room like, dude, you weren't, you were in two gaps over, man, and you're supposed to be here. But, it's kind of part of being the whole thing.
yeah. And it depends on your angle. So most safeties have no idea if their end's supposed to be outside or inside. Um, and I would say most apex defenders. So like we're talking about our Sam or our nickel, like either you're mid, like you're apexing, meaning you're in between him and the line, or in the end man and line of scrimmage, number two, and then he can kind of be your contain guy. But then, like I said, like if you're playing at the college level, that guy's way out there with number two, and you just have number two. And now we're bringing our safety, and now our safety has to insert, and our
Right.
safety is
Which is
filling
why you
filling
see a lot of
the.
those tweeners, right? Or those like
Hmm.
rover type guys, which are basically safeties slash linebackers that could run or play both, right? Like I can go
Hmm.
cover or I can come off the edge or set the edge. And that's I
Yeah.
think where the game has gone to a lot now. Like you see a lot of those guys in the box. Those guys used to be either, your neck roll outside linebacker guys like, hey, let's stretch this guy out in coverage. But now defenses they're literally recruiting to that nature, right? Like
Hmm.
I don't need
Hmm.
those guys anymore. And if I do have a linebacker, they got to be able to run or at least cover
Hmm.
hook curl or handle something
Exactly.
in the flats. Like it's
Yeah.
the transition of the whole position in general. But if you look at, to me, like a lockdown corner is always is something you need. You need it. You have to have it. And it's, what you're doing is great. And I love it because you break things down technically, the kids, and they understand it because you talk about it, and then you show it, right? And that's how these kids learn
Mhm.
today. And it has to be visual. You have to put them in situations for them to really understand what it is. It's not all one-on-ones and it's not 7-on-7. Like at some point you got to tackle. And that's, if you want to play at that high level at this position, right? Where literally when anytime you make a mistake, everybody knows about it because it happens in
Yeah.
space. And I tell the guys all the time, like, you can't mess up out here because when you screw up in the back end, man, it's touchdowns. Like,
Yeah.
so you got to be, attention to detail is pivotal. But I really appreciate it, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And like you said, it's if you want to play to anyone, any kids that want to go to the next level, if you're not a starter, you're going to be asked to do everything but what your dream was. So my dream was to go be a lockdown corner in college. I got to college and I'm running down on kickoff. I'm a dummy on kickoff return. I'm a dummy on punt return. Run down on
Yes. Come on, coach. That's where you make
yeah,
your money, on special teams, baby.
yeah, it's special teams. And like, so I would say if you're not in that first two group,
You better
your
be
entire
doing
life is
something
special
else.
teams. Your entire life is special teams. So half the NFL are those guys who are on every special team who
Yep.
you didn't even know. So there's one of my friends, well, we're not friends, but sorry, one of my teammates. But he was younger than me, so we never really crossed paths in outside of football practice. But he's been in the NFL for 8 years off special teams, just special teams.
Listen, we
Um,
have we've had one of our guys that's been on, and I coached in high school, played at Holy Cross. Liam Anderson is now in his
mhm.
second year with the Colts, as a
Nice.
practice squad player, but he's an outside linebacker that can run. And he literally has
Hmm.
told us, on the show and whatnot, like, coach, the only reason, I even had a shot here was because, I can get on kickoff. I can get on kick
Mhm.
return, right? I can go punt. I can do more things than just what I'm supposed to do. And, I try to tell these guys all the time, even high school guys, man, like, you want to get on the field, figure out a way to get on special teams, and then you can make plays from there. Like, that's the big
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. And special teams, I wowould say, if I could do it all over again, or if I would just give advice to anyone, is every time you're on the field, oh, coach, I'm not really even playing. I'm not a starter. Literally every time you touch the field, you can do something highlight tape worthy if you know
100%.
if you know what coaches are looking for. Like, so every college team needs special teams, and you can be a full-time scholarship player and never be a starter, but you can be on special teams. So coaches, as much as coaching has evolved and maybe things are different, you can't be as tough on kids or whatever, practices are different. A tough guy, everyone's looking for a tough guy. Like
Right.
someone
Tough guys
like,
win, man. You're talking to two guys from the Northeast, bro. Like, this is what
yeah,
this is like, that's kind of, the MO over here. But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like
everybody wants that guy that's willing to run through a brick wall or,
mhm,
mix it up a little bit, have a little edge to them. And I feel like that's because
yeah.
that's the rarity now. Those guys stand out even more.
Mhm, yeah, exactly. And I guess I'll say this story, but I had a coach. He would he always so I felt like I was better than the corner playing over me, but he would always say he would bring us in the room and he'd be like, if I'm in a dark alley and
Yep.
there's 10 guys that want to kick my can, and I can only bring 3 DBs, I'm picking this guy, that guy, and that guy, and he would just walk out the room. And then it took me like 3 years to get into that.
Hey, you got there though, man. It's okay. At least you got
And
there. But
yeah, and
absolutely.
I was like, and it took me a while to understand. He was like, so I'm like, you know, is he saying I'm not tough? Is he saying I can't fight? Is he saying when I didn't feel
Right.
like I was a chihuahua out there, but he wanted someone who mirrored his mentality towards the game on the
Yep.
field. So he's going into war. I want warriors. I want people who I feel like would literally lay down their life on the field, because I would lay down my life on this field, not someone who, if we lost, they would be playing video games or on their phone at halftime. So you just
Yeah. Posting at
long,
halftime like craziness.
long story short is football has changed a lot, but the toughest team usually wins. The tough guy is the one the coach is going to pick. If everything's equal, same height, same grades. I like both of them, but this guy just seems a little nastier. This guy just seems a little grimier. This guy just seems like,
Still a tough
it's
guy sport.
it's still a tough guy sport. So whenever you're on the field, there's always a chance for you to show you're a tough guy, and those are highlight worthy plays that don't have to be a 99-yard touchdown. It could be a good block. Um,
On the
it could be
backside,
you.
it could be a hustle play, right? You're running
Yeah,
with
it could be
chalk. I
it
mean,
could be
think
a
of how
hustle
many
play.
times did you have to bail somebody out as the backside corner, right? Where you
Yeah,
chase a
yeah.
guy down because you never know what's going to happen on the next play, man. You just got to hustle play. And I think that's, a great point, especially DBs that are really like, look, you're supposed to be the most athletic guy. So special teams coaches need those guys. Like every
Hmm.
DB, I always tell, like, every DB should be on every special team. I got to find you a spot because you guys are supposed to be those more athletic guys, those guys with speed, those guys that can do certain things that the special teams coach wants. So get with
Hmm.
him and just work hard, man. I mean, it's really kind of what it comes down to. So
Yeah, it comes down to, I think, a good special teams coach or a good head coach will get guys to understand the importance of special teams, because so
Mhm.
many other teams neglect it, that you can average a block. We averaged a block punt a game at Hawaii,
Oh yeah.
um, simply because our coach was like, well, if you
Cared
don't
about it.
start on if you don't start on special teams, you're not going to start at corner. Like that
Hell
was
no.
the
Yeah, you got to go through this process. Like once I see you can do this, or you'll listen to me and do
hmm
this, now I'll give
hmm
you a shot to go do that. Like he had
Yep.
and that was his process.
Yep. So getting people to understand, like, hey, we can flip this game on one block punt. We
Mhm.
can flip this game if everybody just holds their blocks. They'll never score a kickoff return for a touchdown if everybody stays in their lane. So getting them to understand that field position could be flipped. A block punt, if you block a punt in a game, the
Like
likelihood of you
80%.
win.
It's like
Mhm.
78%.
So I really appreciate my coaches for one not letting even the high profile NFL guys skip out on special teams. So me as
Oh
a
no, they had to do
freshman,
that stuff too, man.
yeah. So me as a freshman, I knew like, hey, special teams is the standard, and I
Mhm.
think as in high school, I'm like, isn't that for everyone who's not playing? so,
Right.
so my my advice
Wait, I
to
gotta get these
everybody.
guys in. They gotta get 5 plays. Okay, put them on kick return, put them on kickoff. Like, okay. No.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
So,
awesome, man.
yeah,
Awesome. Good stuff.
Well,
Really good
well, D,
stuff.
it's been great. It's been great having you on, man. We really enjoy the conversation. Just tell everybody. I know your Instagram is a
Yeah, go
super
ahead.
big
Plug
page.
yourself.
Yeah, let us know
Yeah.
where people can reach you.
yeah. DB underscore network at Instagram. I'm doing a lot more on YouTube, so DB network
Smart.
on YouTube, where I can have conversations like this. I think the Instagram model is very is good, but I don't get to talk about football as much as I want to. I've had people tell me like you're talking too much, and I'm like, this video is literally 60 seconds long.
Dave, if they think he talks too much, then we really got a problem because we know how much
Yeah.
I talk. I'm done, dude. Like, yeah, holy hell, dude.
Yeah. So I want to do more things. I am doing more things on YouTube, long range. I mean, bigger landscape, and you can kind of see coaches film. I'm trying to get kids to watch football. I'm like, guys, how can
And
you
watch it
want
the
to go to
right way.
college, but you don't watch football? Like,
They just
you
play.
got
It's
They just play
crazy.
Madden and
Yeah, they just go out there, they're
NCAA.
slinging it around on college football, Dave. Like, we see it all the time. It's like, guys, you
yeah.
gotta watch it. Like, and don't just like watch it like, hey, yay, touchdown. Watch like your position. Watch what this guy does. Like, we could go
yeah,
on for hours with that
yeah,
stuff.
That's
but I
always a
meant, but
challenge,
yeah,
though. That's been a
yeah.
challenge since I started coaching, so 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago. So,
Man. But yeah, I appreciate you guys.
Listen, man,
And yeah,
appreciate you.
I would love to do it again because man,
yeah,
we didn't even crack the surface on defensive
Oh,
back.
hell no.
Really.
yeah. No, we could definitely have you on. We could do a part two and talk some more. Anytime you want to come on, we could have you on. We'd love to talk more DB
We gotta
play.
get you out
So
here to the East Coast, man.
Where are you guys? Where are you guys located
Jersey.
specifically? Jersey.
New Jersey,
Oh,
buddy.
okay. So one of my teammates who I think he played for the Saints for a little. Have you heard of Keith Kirkwood? Have you heard that
Keith
name?
Kirkwood.
He,
no.
he's from New Jersey. He's from New Jersey,
Okay.
but he's on the NFL roster right now. He's one of the
Okay.
special teams guys I was telling you about. So
Nice.
so
It's
maybe
kind
I
of
can
what
get you
we
guys.
are over here, bro. We're a little gritty, a little, you know what I mean? It's small, dude, but there's a lot of people in a small area, dude. I'll tell you that much. We got to get you
Yeah.
out here, man.
Yeah, man. I would love to. I'm traveling. I've been all over the world doing DB stuff.
It's
So
awesome.
that's kind of my life right now.
Do it.
So
You're
yeah, I would
young
love to do
enough.
it. Yeah. So yeah, he went to Neptune High School.
Oh,
Oh,
right by
FCS.
us.
Yeah.
Yep,
It's
Keith
literally the
Kirkwood went to.
conference that we're in, like the area that we are. They break it up like North, Central, South Jersey, but it's all 3 hours you're driving from the top to the bottom. So you know what I mean.
Yeah,
But we're like
yeah.
kind of that Central Jersey area, and that's it. It's interesting because they're they're not a very high profile high school program, but we know they've put out some individual studs. So that's good to hear, man. That's awesome. But like I said,
Yeah, yeah.
anytime you want to jump back on or have some more conversations or whatever, let's stay in touch, Coach, and we'll talk soon, man. Really appreciate you taking the time. Some really good stuff that we got. I think our
No,
viewers will enjoy it.
I appreciate you guys as well. And it's with the NIL going on, that's kind of I've been
Crazy.
ton of questions about that. So
Oh yeah.
I'm
I totally,
studying that
yeah.
like
And now you
crazy.
got, one quarterback's done, then his running back's done. Like, hey, it's just, this is what it is.
Well, the
It's a
NIL is in
different
the it's
world.
in the news now because the UNLV quarterback
Mhm.
Jersey kid, man.
Oh,
step
he's oh.
is he a Jersey guy? I didn't know that.
Sluka,
Yeah,
yep.
stepping
That's
down, and that's a whole. But yeah, that's the beginning. Honestly, in my
Oh,
opinion, that's the
hell.
beginning of
You're going to see
the
this. How
start.
much more, Dave?
Yeah,
no,
like
you're gonna see it more this year for sure.
Well, now
absolutely
guys are
because
going to actually do it. Like
well
they've been
Mhm.
talking about it. Now it's going to all come out.
the first issue really goes back to when the Florida I can't think where he's at now. I think
Yes,
he's at
Florida,
the
Arizona
quarterback.
State now. Yep.
Where's he at now?
Arizona State,
Arizona
right?
State.
Oh, don't say yeah.
Yep.
So that was the first. What was that? Was that who was that? Rashada? No,
Yeah, something like that. Something
I
like
think it
that.
was Rashada. But
The
that was
shots.
really the first. But nobody. The stories
It popped at
were
first,
so
right? And then it kind of like
convoluted, and
trickled away. So they
it was hard to pin it down. It was such an extreme
Mhm.
amount of money that was quote unquote offered. So, but this is like a amount of money that most people can wrap their heads around. A quarterback being offered and not being
Rashada,
kind of out of the realm. A guy coming from Holy Cross, where
right?
he was a star, going to a UNLV. You
Probably
know,
because they promised them that money.
well,
They
something,
did.
right?
They definitely did. They definitely did.
Yeah,
There's
that
billions of dollars in Las Vegas. Like, come on.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Dollars in Las Vegas.
And then just knowing just because I played at UConn, we have a lot going on with our collective, like how they're building it up and everything. And I just know the conversations that it is like, there's a lot of pieces moving. So,
Yeah.
if a
There's
coach
so much
did
behind the
if a
scenes.
coach did talk out of turn, let's say, and didn't confirm him with the head, I believe all that to be true, right?
Right.
And I actually I believe that the head coach didn't okay it, right? But he probably didn't also
No.
say to the kid, "No, we're not going to give it either," right? Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So
Now, and these things, Dave, are these like these aren't like
that's why you got
signed
to sign
contracts, are
contracts.
they?
That's why you got to sign contracts.
Yeah, they're
Right.
That's
not
Because
why
that
contracts.
this verbal thing of
you
like,
just
hey,
don't
yeah,
go.
like
No, you just the bottom
like
line is you just have to,
shake
even though
handshakes,
you
like
well, the issue is the kid wants to go, right? So this is how you get into the issue. Kid wants to go, maybe dad and the agent are like trying to work this out. Kid wants to go. Now they're squeezed for time because of the window of transfer portal, right? They
right,
start to
which
get
we've talked
squeezed.
about before, right? The
So
schedule and the time is all screwed up.
well, so they trust it. They trust it, and it really wasn't probably nailed down the way it should be.
Right.
And now you're there playing, and you keep asking the question, and they kind of hem and haw, and they backtrack, right? And they already got you there. You're already playing, and
Right. And you've won,
and now the
now you're
agent,
undefeated.
well, and then the agent gets involved, and so the biggest thing is that it's ultimately more of these things are going to happen. To me, more of these things are going to happen because a lot of these things aren't nailed down exactly, right?
A lot of
And
gray
then
area, right?
but
Mhm.
the larger issue is the players obviously should get money. The thing is, there's got to be parameters, and there has to be, they have to figure out, are they going to be employees of the university? No, and I hate to use it like this way, but like when you were on campus, there were kids that went to college that like might have had scholarship money for academics, right? And they worked in like the bookstore, right? And they were
Yeah,
paid,
yeah,
I worked in the equipment room.
right? You were
yeah.
paid an hourly wage, right?
Yeah.
So this
I
is
think it
just
was
a large
13.10.
wage, but they were paid a wage. They went to school, they were paid a wage working in the bookstore. So this to me is just, hey, we're just saying, but there are ramifications tax-wise and all that stuff. So that's why but it has to start to get worked out, because what's going to happen is
It's craziness.
kids are going to get shafted, but universities are also going to look bad. Like, it's going to be hard to, like, if you're
Right,
UNLV,
this
it's
staff
hard
now
to
looks terrible.
it's hard to entice the next kid to come to you, right? So
Even if the staff had nothing to do with this.
It's not just the player, it's both areas. You want to look good in the whole process, right? So that's why I think you need to really get down there and work these things out, because you're going to have more of these. And honestly, it makes college football look like, we all play college football. It makes it look like a joke, dude, to me. It makes it look like a joke, like, the Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers, Texas is handling it a certain way, right? Looks great for them, right? And some of their top tier guys, the running back who had the had the really nice car. I can't. He's in the
BJ Robinson before he went to the league.
BJ Robinson,
right?
Lambo. Right. Well, Texas was handling it, right? But then you get places that, if I give this guy $100K, that may be all the money we have, right? And so you get these weird situations if you don't have a contract. I just think it has to, I was an NFL agent for 6 years. And as an NFL, one of the things I tell Derek this all the time, people complain all they want about agents and this or that in the NFL. The NFL, you have to take a test to be approved as an agent. Okay. You've got to go through their training, the NFLPA training to do it. You have to be approved. There's a set percentage they get. There's obviously a templated contract for everything from an NFL standpoint. Now, there is a part where you could add, like, that's how guys add, like, guarantees and stuff like that. You could add stuff, but there's a templated part. Like, there's a large part that's so templated that, for a lot of the basic deals, like free agent deals and maybe guys that are in the 7th round or 6th round, like, there's very, very little wiggle room. There's very little extra language that's going to be put in there, right? So that part, it made it really good, because once you knew the rules, once you had parameters, you knew what you were negotiating on. And then it was really a matter of, when you're talking to player personnel, GM, and the coaches, if they were at all, like, really wanted the guy, then you were kind of negotiating a certain parameter of things. Right now, you're negotiating everything's on the table. There is no, what I'm saying? Like, I'm negotiating my house. I'm negotiating money. I'm negotiating a car. I'm negotiating, when you need me in the facility, right? Those are not negotiable in the NFL. Like, there are penalties for things. So that's the thing that the NCAA / whoever ends up being in charge of this has to start to work out, and they got to get in the room, because the bottom line is UNLV looks really bad, and the groups that benefit the most from this, I always think, UNLV looking bad and not having their ducks in a row, or let's say that happened to where I played UConn or something like that, like any of these group of five, the ones who have the most extreme amount of money, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, they can do things the right way because they have the money to really do it, and the leverage. And the groups that end up really just getting the group of fives, Hawaii's, it's harder for the Hawaii's of the world. It's harder for the San Jose States. They want to do it, and that's where the parameters will give you an opportunity to say, okay, here's the playing field, and here's the area of negotiation, and here's the area of non-negotiation, right? And then we go from there. And now at least, you would get, it doesn't mean you won't have situations, because you will, but you'll have less of these, like, extreme things that will happen. And everybody just, feeling hard. And you know what it trickles down to me? It trickles down to high school, because they don't know any, and you work with high school, they don't know anything about anything. High school parents, high school,
they
know what you tell them or what they see on social media.
They know nothing about anything.
It's the wrong shit.
Right. Well, because the transfer players know a little bit. They've already been there, right? So but the high school players and the high school parents know nothing. So if they're negotiating NIL deals without
Yeah,
a
you're like,
proper age, they don't know. They have no idea. Like, if someone goes and gives you, and Derek knows this already because it goes on. We know people. Someone goes and gives you while you're in high school, because in some states you can get NIL. Here's a few $1,000s
and
a
we're
month
one
to
of
live.
them.
Yeah, a few $1,000s a month to live until you get to my school. Like, well, you feel great about that at the time. That sounds great. But if you haven't signed a contract, does that continue? When does it not?
Right.
When does it stop? When is that? There's all these things that go on.
There's a
And you know
lot
what I mean?
that's like in the air, right? And it's
It's
kind of
all
just
in the
like
air.
bouncing
But you're
around.
like, oh, it's
And
great. Someone's giving me money. Someone's giving me money. Someone's giving me money. But you're not thinking about, like, okay, what happens when I show up on that campus? Am I still going to get that money? Did they
right.
give me that money just to get me here?
Or what happens if I don't follow through? Or like, hey, if I'm paying you, you're doing this, 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 and this. And the second you don't, it's gone. Goodbye. Right? Like,
Exactly. Yeah. And
But
there's
that's a whole
I
nother.
guess,
We can talk about that. That's a 2 hour
D,
conversation
man,
itself.
we appreciate you, buddy.
I'll let you run. It was great talking with you. We really enjoyed it, and listen, we'll get you back on soon. I'm sure Derek will reach out. We'll get you back on again, and we'll talk some more.
Definitely, bro.
Yeah, no sweat. I love talking ball, and that was the quickest hour and a half ever. 'Cause, yeah, I don't really get.
Listen, we talk a
I'm
lot.
usually I'm usually
We talk a
dealing with
lot.
people. I'm usually dealing with people who just comment.
Nah, man.
It's not a real. I this is what I miss most about being on a part of a coaching staff, is just being able to talk ball. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Nah, man.
No
This
problem.
is kind of just how we do it. It's loosey goosey. We talk ball, like, laugh a little this, little that, but we tell it like it is. So, and listen, I think you gave some great stuff. Hopefully, and we'd love to get you back on, man. So appreciate your time, dude. We'll talk soon. Thanks, D.
All right,
Sounds good. Have a great rest of your day.
Take care, buddy.
You too. Bye. That was great. Fantastic.
Really good stuff, dude.
Yeah. I mean, the DB play stuff. I think
shit.
we just touched. I think we just scratched the surface, because I still probably have some questions about where your eyes are as a safety and those kind of things.
And I think he'll give you, like, he'll easily could give you a lot of that. And I think it's just going to come down to like where or what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard, especially like your level. Like, hey, for me, it's always read this or look at this. But then when you see different stuff, it's like, I don't really know, like, the general aspect. Like, you know what I mean? Like do
in
you
high
play your
school, it's
safety at
safety.
10? Do you play him at whatever? I mean,
Like in high
we do
school
a
at
lot of
safety, I
stuff.
used to, if I had an advanced safety, I would tell him, and he was the one high guy.
Yeah.
I would tell him, read the uncovered. If there's an uncovered guard, get your run pass read.
Yep.
Because that will take you to the ball. Number one, if it's a run play, it'll take you to the ball, and you want to see through to that quarterback. If you can, like, as you start to get more advanced. But everybody has kind of different philosophies on it. But like,
I mean, look, I always read the end man on the line of scrimmage, right? Like, usually a tackle. So I would read a tackle, high hat pass, getting your pass drop, low hat, he comes downhill. Now I'm flying up to play run. I also think that in high school, like, your depth matters, right? So if it's a heavy run team, I'll put your toes at 8. Right? If it's a little something different, 10. If they really throw, 12, so I can see everything. I mean, where do I align? And where you call strengths, and do you cheat to this or do you cheat to that? And you're talking safety play as a single high is very different than safety play too high. Like, there's a lot of that stuff
very
that
different.
goes into it.
Well, I
I
think
mean, you
too
got
high,
Mel
you could
Kiper
definitely
coming
read.
on ESPN saying, outlaw the fucking too high safety. Like, dude,
Well,
stick to
too
the
high, I
draft and
think
just
you
shut
could
up.
read. You read end man on the line. I
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
because it's to your side too.
it's to your side, so it's easier. One high is a little different, and then also now with RPOs,
Oh, God.
reading guards is not always it used to be a true
You're
indicator.
never going to get a true key, right? Like, used to be reading guards, they're going to take you to the play, and you're good with. Now, I mean, dude, every play, like, there's a lineman downfield, but but we're throwing. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck are we doing? So, like, as a safety, it's like, all right, might as well just go hit the guy. Like, whatever. Like, I hope the corner's covered.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Let's
Good
get
stuff.
Good stuff. Yeah, absolutely.